Justice with passion.
I knew I was going to go into law because I always defended everybody. I was always the one who found a solution and tried to resolve the problem by having people talk to each other.
Justice with truth.
So I'm giving you one more chance to tell me the truth.
This is Justice for All with Judge Christina Perez. James Nettles is suing Kyle Karnick in the amount of $900. Mr. Nettles claims Mr. Karnick shot him during a camping trip. Mr. Karnick claims his gun misfired and it was an accident.
Mr. Nettles, I understand that you were shot on a hunting trip by the defendant?
Yes, Your Honor. I was shot on a hunting trip and I incurred $900 in medical bills because of Kyle. His rifle discharged and hit my arm. He shot me.
Wow, only $900. Okay, what happened?
Well, it was actually $1,400, but the clinic, there was like a $500 deductible on my insurance, so I'm responsible for the balance.
No,
that's
I understand.
$900.
I know people would have sued for a lot more pain and suffering, et cetera, et cetera. You're only suing for your out-of-pocket, which is admirable. I understand you two know each other?
We do.
Okay. You are Mr. Karnick. You are Mr. Nettles' girlfriend's brother?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And how long have you been dating?
2 years. I had a bunch
tell me about hunting. I've never been hunting. We have friends who hunt, but I don't know the first thing about hunting.
Well, basically, you have to suit up. You have to have the regular hunting garb. You have to have the camouflage. And then you have a special safety vest on. And when you go out, you kind of have to pick a place. Sometimes you have to kind of walk fast to pick a position in the woods. We were going out for deer that day.
And do you, I would imagine so, take special lessons or gun safety lessons? Have you done that?
Yes, we do, Your Honor. And in fact, I recommended that specifically to Kyle when he did, because I knew he was excited. He had bought a rifle. According to Ellen, my girlfriend, he said, hey, I said, look, I said, you need to take a couple of safety courses beyond just the regular permitting that the state requires once you purchase a rifle.
Yeah, so then when you purchased the rifle, Mr. Karnick, you took the basic, you passed the basic safety standards that your state required you to, from what I understand.
Yes, Your Honor. The state of Montana required that I take a permit course. It took me nearly 60 days to complete. However, I didn't have the $220 extra for the additional safety courses that were offered that I became aware of from Mr. Nettles.
That's such a shame. I mean, we've talked about this before. So many, you know, it should be mandatory. 60 hours, was it? I'm sorry, 60 days?
It took nearly 60 days, Your Honor.
It's just not enough. So then why don't you tell me, Mr. Nettles, what happens on the day of?
Well, basically, it was a little bit of a rainy day. I decided to walk fast through some uneven terrain. There was some mud, and wanted to go out to place a position because at some point there were some deer ahead of us. We saw them, and you kind of have to go ahead and then you plant and then you take a position. And usually you have a gun safety on. You're fully visible, and you kind of have to stake out a position because you can't just chase deer all day. They'll take off. So the hunting, you kind of have to know where people are at, but at the same time you have to follow the basic rules once you're in like a range. I was in a hurry. I had gone a little ways ahead of Kyle, and at some point I'm honestly not sure because I didn't know. All I know is it's stunned, is that somehow his rifle went off and I was shot in my arm.
So
and I have the medicals here.
Okay, go ahead and give Renard. So you're kind of not sure what happened around there. Did you talk to Kyle about the procedure, or you assumed he kind of knew since he had been hunting before? A
little bit of both. Again, my girlfriend had said he had gone over some of this stuff in the initial course, and I recommended to Kyle directly that he should take a safety course because it kind of goes through in how to chamber, how to unload, how to set the safety, and basically it's the ABCs of how to handle your rifle, even though it's a .22.
All right, so Mr. Karnick, why don't you give me your version of facts? What happened on the day you went out hunting?
We had stopped before we went out into the field when we got there, and in all fairness, Mr. Nettles did go over some additional safety basics, including discussing the safety lock on the hunting rifle. He was surprisingly swift. I was really having a hard time, and it was muddy. I was slipping all over the place, but I was wearing the gear, and we came to a point where there was a clearing, and Mr. Nettles had mentioned, and I
This
looked
is
up,
the place to do it. Let's do it.
well, but we actually made visual contact with some deer. The rifle that I purchased is a standard .22 caliber hunting rifle. It's a bolt action rifle. The chamber was loaded, but the safety was on. And when we started to rush to the clearing, I turned the safety off in anticipation of being able to take my first clean shot. However, I slipped, it was muddy, and when I tripped, I used my left arm to brace myself, and when my right arm came down, the trigger was activated and the gun discharged.
Coming up on Justice for All.
I just didn't want to deal with it, so I left the urgent care center, and I left him there. At that point, I didn't feel like I deserved to take that anymore. It wasn't my fault.
Okay, so he deserved to get shot in the arm?
And later,
I'm allowed to have a pet if I want one.
Yes, but as her mother, I feel that I should have been told that my daughter was in an environment with something that could potentially be dangerous to her.
closed captioning provided by. If you'll be in the Los Angeles area and want to bring your case to court, call 1-888-552-6878. You're watching Justice for All with Judge Christina Perez. We're back with the case of James Nettles, who is suing Kyle Karnick for medical expenses.
So you had your hand on the trigger?
Well, I did because I was holding it with both hands, but when I fell, it wound up in my right hand, and when it came down onto the ground, that's when the gun went off.
So he had his hand on the trigger?
Yeah, but that's not likely. You know, he was probably excited and
Was like ready to go?
ready to go.
Huh.
It was a hot gun, Your Honor, because the safety was off. It's a bolt action, so that means there's a .22 that was chambered in. It was ready to go.
Yeah, that's right. So to have the rifle, he would have had to consciously have his hand on the trigger ready to pull for it to go off.
Because the safety was
It's not going to
definitely
go
off.
off. If it falls
It's not going to go off.
and falls on the wet ground, is it going to go off?
It's not going to go off.
Right? Even if he tripped and fell?
Even if he tripped and fell.
He had to actually consciously have the hand on the trigger ready to pull.
That's correct.
I was anticipating a shot, but I wasn't intending to pull the
So
trigger
you
in
were
that moment.
anticipating the shot. So could it be that maybe you were trying to beat him to the punch and hurry up and set up?
I was just trying to catch up. He was actually fixing on taking a shot at that moment, and I just wanted to be next to him so that I could also
I think you're probably trying to take the shot before he took the shot to impress him a little bit. That's the only thing that
I would
reasonably
agree with
makes
you.
sense, because even if you fall, as you described, or the rifle falls, the only way logically, with my expert, is that you had to have the hand on the trigger ready to pull it, and I think you would agree the same, Mr.
Yeah, I mean,
Reynolds.
I'm out $900. I mean, he shot me in the arm. Things
Well,
still
I mean,
hurts.
that's beside the point. What I'm trying to figure out, you're saying it was an accident, the gun fell, you didn't mean to shoot him. I think that's... I'm sure you didn't mean to shoot him, but I think that maybe you were a little negligent,
I would never intentionally pull the trigger.
Nobody's saying that, Mr. Karnick. Nobody's saying that. I think what happened is that here you are trying to jump over hoops and hurdles to make a great impression on Mr. Nettles. You're trying to be better than him, and you're trying to set up before he sets up, because you see that's what he's doing, and you want to shoot the deer before he does, and that's exactly what you did, and you probably had your hand on the trigger and inadvertently shot Mr. Nettles versus the deer, because I don't think you fell on the ground. I think you were just there, and maybe because the weather was so bad you didn't see it clearly, and you were just in a hurry trying to impress him, that you shot in his direction. I mean, that's the only thing that logically makes sense.
Well, Your Honor, I did fall on the ground, and the gun was in my hand. I don't have the experience behind me where
Well, that's the problem, Mr. Karnick. You don't have the experience. So was it reasonable, was it responsible for you to go out with a deadly weapon?
I was looking
around, even with the wild, around with the wild and with the animals. Is that fair to them? No, you were inexperienced. And you had a rifle that you didn't even take the care to really get to know and understand. I mean, I don't know a lot about guns, but I know you don't keep your hand on the trigger. In your hand is something that could cause severe bodily injury or death. It's more than an accident. It's being unreasonable, and there's consequences for that. So why didn't you reimburse him the money when he asked?
On the way to the urgent care, Mr. Nettles was belittling me. He was insulting me. He told me that the only reason he took me out in the first place is because my sister felt sorry for me and he was trying to do her a favor. And I just didn't want to deal with it. So I left the urgent care center, and I left him there. At that point, I didn't feel like I deserved to take that anymore. It wasn't my fault.
Okay, so he deserved to get shot in the arm?
He didn't deserve to get shot, but
And you're 46 years old and you're caring about what somebody says to you? How would you feel if somebody just shot you because they didn't know how to use a gun? And they were trying to be better than you and show you off. I mean, how would you feel if somebody was that ignorant and that careless? And you could have shot him somewhere else.
I wasn't trying to be better. I was just looking at him as a guy.
All right, Mr. Karnik, we've been through this before. So if you're 46 years old, you can't take responsibility, you can't own your own actions, your own mistakes. Maybe that's why you are where you are at 46 years old, okay? But based on the evidence, I find that the defendant acted completely unreasonable. He did not, you weren't careful, period. That's it. The end of that, that's it. You were just not careful and you had a gun in your hand. So based on that, we will make sure that he reimburses you the $900 for your medical bills.
Your Honor, thank you so much.
All rise.
Judge Perez has ruled in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant has been ordered to pay $900.
You shot me. Next time when you're going to go hunting with somebody, you need to have some idea with what you're doing.
I'm sorry that this happened. I thought I was in good hands, but I should have taken responsibility for myself.
Coming up on Justice for All.
I'm allowed to have a pet if I want one.
Yes, but as her mother, I feel that I should have been told that my daughter was in an environment with something that could potentially be dangerous to her.
Closed captioning provided by... You're watching Justice for All with Judge Christina Perez. Ramona Green is suing Allison Davis in the amount of $462. Ms. Green claims Ms. Davis gave her daughter fleas. Ms. Davis claims she's not responsible.
Ms. Green, I understand the defendant, Ms. Davis, is your cousin.
Yes, she is.
Is that correct? Mm-hmm. And you are suing your cousin for $462?
That's right.
Tell me why.
Well, I acquired a medical bill when she was babysitting my daughter, and she got a rash on her leg, so I had to take her to urgent care, and then the medical bill's there for $150. And then I had to miss days of work, so I'm also suing for the days that I had to take off of work.
So
she's
now
the
you're
baby's
mad.
godmother.
Oh, she's the baby's godmother. That's fantastic. So it's a favor that your cousin's doing for your daughter. Ms. Green, how is your cousin, the defendant, Ms. Davis, responsible for the rash that your 2-year-old daughter
Well,
got?
My cousin Allison is very aware that Ashley, my daughter, is highly allergic and has very sensitive skin towards lots of things, including pet dander and all things.
Is this medically proven? You've had her tested?
It's not medically proven, but I had the same sensitivities as a child, and I see the same thing in my daughter.
Has your daughter ever gotten any other rashes being around animals or dust or anything else?
Sometimes she has trouble breathing a little bit, not anything too dangerous, but I hear a bit of wheezing when she's around animals, so I like to keep her away from pets, at least at this young age. I grew out of it, and I imagine she probably will too.
But anything ever serious or dangerous that you'd have to take her to the hospital?
Nothing before this, no.
Okay, all right, so then continue.
So I went to the hospital because it was Sunday. I had to go to urgent care, so I couldn't go to my normal physician. And I believe it was flea bites from a cat that she had been secretly harboring at her house without telling me.
And do you have pets?
No, not exactly. This little cat, little kitten, came around about 5 months ago to where I would take out the garbage, and I just started feeding it. And it just kept coming back and coming back. And so, you know, over time, I put on a flea collar to make sure it didn't have any fleas or anything like that. And every once in a while, I would let it into the house, but I never let it around when Ashley was there.
Mm-hmm. Ashley is the plaintiff's daughter.
Yes, because I know of her, you know, she's very overprotective, and she, you know, doesn't allow Ashley to be around animals or anything like that, so I was, you know, complying to her wishes and not letting the cat around her.
I'm still failing to see how your cousin is responsible for this.
Well, she didn't tell me that she had a cat, and not only was this a cat, it was an alley cat.
This is your house?
Yes.
It's your house?
This is my house.
Okay.
So if I'm allowed to have a pet if I want one.
Yes, but as her mother, I feel that I should have been told that my daughter was in an environment with something that could potentially be dangerous to her.
Coming up.
Your Honor, I am very upset with her because I cannot believe that she would make us come to court to talk about this. She just banned...
So she never talked to you about this?
Closed captioning provided by... You're watching Justice for All with Judge Christina Perez. We're back with the case of Ramona Green, who is suing Allison Davis for lost wages and medical bills.
You're suing her because you're mad that she in her own house had a pet.
Yes, without telling me. I feel that
The last time I checked, it was her house.
But it's my daughter, so I feel that I should have been told at the very least that there was.
But so she didn't tell you.
Right.
So what?
Well, she normally, what she told her
But
friends.
so what? She didn't tell you that she has a little cat that comes over. And did you guys talk about this before you came to see me?
No, Your Honor, I am very upset with her because I cannot believe that she would make us come to court to talk about this. She just banned...
So she never talked to you about this?
So on Sunday, she came over with some groceries, and she saw this little bag from the cat that was sitting in the house, and she's like, "What is this?" And I told her, well, it's from the cat. And because I had noticed something hanging out from the back of the cat, and I was curious as to what it was, so I snipped it off and I put it in a little plastic baggie to take it to the vet to find out what it was. You know, it could be a tapeworm.
And do you have anything from the emergency room to see
I do.
what
I have
really
the
caused the rash?
urgent care bill.
So then when you found out that she came over, she saw the cat, what did she do? She freaked out?
She went ballistic. She just started yelling at me, telling me how could I do this to her, that I betrayed her. And then,
Your Honor, not only did I know just then that there was a cat
betrayed her
around my daughter.
How did she betray you?
Because she knows that that's a very strong feeling I have, that I do not want my daughter exposed to animals for fear of her allergies. And
But what allergies? You don't know if she even has allergies.
Well, she has sensitivities. I have sensitivities to
That's
pets.
the problem. We're not letting our kids have fun and get dirty and you know, pick up dirt and play with it. You know, they're going to grow up in a bubble. I mean, how do you, that's why I'm asking you, how do you know if she has all these allergies that you claim she does?
Well, I can tell in her behavior.
You have not gone to the doctor. And here in the ER, it says mother with 2 asterisks. Mother is complaining about flea bites. Daughter's skin is inflamed. Gave her cortisone-based salve. That's it. That's all they said.
Judge Perez's verdict when Justice for All returns. Promotional consideration provided by...
There's so much wrong in the world, and you're taking time up from us today forgive the flipness, for $462 for something you claim were flea bites. I mean, I know that's a lot of money, but you have not substantiated anywhere that your cousin, Miss Davis, the defendant, was in any way negligent or responsible for this rash. So based on the evidence, I find no direct link or anything that you've given me that Miss Davis is responsible for your daughter's rash. So based on that, I'll deny your claim for $462.
All rise.
Judge Perez has ruled in favor of the defendant. The plaintiff's claim has been dismissed.
we did not have to come to court today over a cat. I miss you, and I miss my goddaughter.
Well, you can see your goddaughter as soon as you respect my wishes to not have animals around my child.
This has been a production of Entertainment Studios.
For me, it is about the law and people. That is not a legal defense, let me tell you. And how people can resolve and better themselves.
Justice with passion.
I knew I was going to go into law because I always defended everybody. I was always the one who found a solution and tried to resolve the problem by having people talk to each other.
Justice with truth.
So I'm giving you one more chance to tell me the truth.
This is Justice for All with Judge Christina Perez. Karen Dims is suing Arnold Parker in the amount of $600. Ms. Dims claims Mr. Parker sent her home for being out of uniform, and she lost 2 days of wages. Mr. Parker claims all of his employees know the dress code, including Ms. Dims.
All rise. Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Christina Perez presiding. Please be seated. All parties have been sworn in, Your Honor.
Thank you, Renard. Ms. Lee, you are suing your former employer for $600.
That is correct, Your Honor. I'm here today to sue my former manager, Mr. Parker, for $600. And I am a former employee that worked as a host and a server at Lee's Italian Kitchen.
Okay. And Lee's Italian Kitchen, a small little restaurant?
It's been in business for 25 years. It was started by my father, who was from Italy. Mm-hmm. He started in the kitchen,
Must
developed...
be good food.
Yeah, sauce, pasta, pizza.
Mm-hmm. Good, okay. And how long did Ms. Lee work for you?
4 months.
I was there for 4 months, correct.
4 months, okay. Yes. And she was, what, a hostess?
She was started out as a hostess because she hadn't had experience. Mm-hmm. We moved her into serving. She did a good job. However, we had some issues. Mm-hmm. And
how many employees do you have?
25.
25. So how many patrons does the restaurant serve?
Well, it seats about 60 people.
Okay. All right, so that's a lot of employees. And Ms. Lee, so you are here suing him for $600 for money that you feel he still owes you for working?
Correct. So as a college student, I can only work weekends, so I counted on those wages to pay for my school loans, my rent. Mm-hmm. And so I usually will be there for evening shifts. And, you know, when I started training there, I was just told provide great customer service and, you know, be able to really recommend great food to the family. So there's been usually regulars that come in, and on a Friday night I was working. I was wearing my skirt right here that is up to my knee, mm-hmm. and a colored top that's mainly black. And to me, it was pretty appropriate for a family restaurant. Mm-hmm. I respect the modest dress code. I respect just being covered up. Mm-hmm. And to me...
And so you said modest dress code. Is that the dress code of the restaurant, modest?
So when I started training, I was never given a written formal letter saying you had to wear pants or you had to wear a long sleeve shirt. It was just modest and respectful. So I took that as a way for me to interpret it as any way I would like.
Did you dress in different colors, or?
I mainly will wear dark colors.
Okay. And long sleeve, short sleeve?
What's most comfortable for me is like the 3/4 sleeves where, you know, it doesn't cover up my wrist, but I'm able to be covered up.
So you never had any problems with her
Karen
dress code?
was an excellent worker. She was very pleasant. She learned what she had to do. As a host, she was very friendly. And
did you ever have any problems with the guests?
No.
As a server?
Not as a server. However, I had some issues with the female patrons making some comments about how their husbands or their boyfriends reacted to Karen in the process of her serving. They found her a bit flirtatious.
And I see what you mean.
Okay. And
so it wasn't what she was wearing. It was that she was a flirtatious young girl or a friendly young girl?
Friendly. However, when serving in a type of restaurant like this, it's important to gauge not only the male patron, but get a read on the female.
Okay. Did you ever see her perform?
I did see her perform.
And was she flirtatious with the men and ignored the women?
I thought she was very friendly with both. However, women seemed to get the wrong impression. I tried to make that point across to her, and then when she came in a few times with this particular skirt on, I had two patrons that particular...
So she had worn the skirt before?
Oh, yes, she had worn it a couple of times. And I had mentioned to her that I would prefer, you know, it to be a little more plain, because it looked more like a slip.
No, it's plain.
Well, it's plain, but it's lacy, and I actually had two customers mention...
No, it's not. Let me see it.
I had two male patrons even mention that, you know, Karen's wearing her slip again.
No, it's not. It's a thick skirt with a fake leather trim, and you can tell it's completely thick.
Coming up on Justice for All.
I was not given the wage that I was expecting, and so...
I expect to win the lottery, and I never win it.
And later...
Some people wouldn't even bother suing you. Some people would say, whatever, I'll take care of it. But people love to sue each other for these things. I wouldn't have sued him, but that's just me.
Closed captioning provided by... If you'll be in the Los Angeles area and want to bring your case to court, call 1-888-552-6878. You're watching Justice for All with Judge Christina Perez. We're back with the case of Karen Dims, who is suing Arnold Parker for $600.
It's a beautiful skirt.
Oh,
It's
I'm not
elegant.
saying it's not beautiful.
No, it's elegant and simple, and I'm short too, but you're shorter than me, but it's probably what, below your knees?
It covered me up
Can you
pretty well.
make her put it below her? And it's a thick
So,
skirt.
Your Honor, actually,
so
I have
let me see.
evidence.
Can you just step in front so I can see what it with your skirt? So it's way below your knees.
Well,
okay.
yes, that
All right.
wasn't the problem. The problem, in my position being
The
the
problem
owner,
was the person in the skirt.
well, not necessarily. The problem, the problem is
She's a beautiful
basically
young girl.
she's wearing
Are
something
you a flirt?
Your Honor, I just know when I'm a server, I provide great customer experience, whether it's
Do you
female
ignore
or
the
male.
ladies?
I'm just
I think the
very
ladies
friendly.
got jealous, is what it was.
Well, that's
the problem
their
is,
problem, not yours.
well, I know, but it starts affecting business when they say they're
No,
going to
it
get takeout
doesn't.
instead of coming
Well,
in.
that's nonsense. That's nonsense. Mr.
Well-
Parker, if you fired her just because you wanted to
No,
fire
no,
her,
I didn't fire her, Your Honor.
you quit.
She
I
quit.
was suspended for the weekend shift that I usually will work.
Why did you suspend her for the
I
weekend
suspended
shift?
her because I brought up this particular issue numerous times. I
How
was
many
very
times
gentle.
how many times did Mr. Parker warn you that his customers felt that you were flirtatious?
So, as he said, he's brought it up to me and spoke to me about it, but
How many times?
I could say about 3 times. I've worn the skirt to work for about 3 times.
So 3 times he's complained to you and said, hey, I think the females are a little uncomfortable because they feel that you're very flirtatious.
I took it more of a casual talk, like, you know, you're not really supposed to be wearing this.
Well, it was a casual talk.
I'm trying to figure this out. Okay, so you truly then don't have a dress code because you've allowed her to wear that skirt before.
Well, I have a general agreement with the employees.
A general agreement with what?
With
Let
the
me see.
employees, and it specifies some of the issues that we may have there. It's a very general agreement, and people can be terminated at will, and they can quit at will.
Well, they're at-will
No, no,
employees, yes, of course. Okay, it's not really an agreement. It's just kind of like, hey, you're working for us, and this is generally for everybody. You got to learn the menu, describe the menu, the
Exactly.
items. You have to have the cooperation, terminations at will. So you're not telling me anything I wouldn't already know. Okay. The dress code says modest. So,
modest.
Okay, so she dressed modestly. So
Well,
I still don't understand why you're suing Mr. Parker.
So, Your Honor, I'm here to sue Mr. Parker because of the suspension, and I was not given the wage that I was expecting, and so...
I expect to win the lottery, and I never win it. I expect every day to meet people who are kind and generous and have good manners. Never happens.
I just figured since I never gotten a personal customer complaint or
Well,
a
he
formal
warned you
write-up...
3 times, sweetheart. 3 times. 3 times. But this is an at-will employment. You guys don't even... It's a restaurant. There is no formal write-up because I don't think that's what he does. And he's warned you 3 times. I think you're being a little flirtatious. So you would have a claim when an employee alleges that the employer unjustly fired him or her, then it gets more complicated because we have to look, well, was that employer discriminatory on any way? Was he discriminatory because you're a female, because you're Asian, because of your religion, your beliefs, your sexual preference? You know, we need to go into all of those very specific details to see if he discriminated you against based on one of those issues. At first in your statement you say he fired me because I wore a skirt. Okay, so I need to look at that. Has he ever let anybody wear a skirt before? Yes, he has. So then therefore that's not discriminatory. Now that you guys are telling me and explaining to me that he fired you because he had warned you 3 times he did not like, or he let you go that he did not like the way you spoke to the customers, he's the boss. He warned you 3 times, even if he did it in jest, not in jest, even if he did it loosely, casually, it's still the boss pulling you over aside, telling you, hey, listen, For some reason, customers are not they're not comfortable with you. So I don't doubt that you're not a lovely young girl, you're beautiful, but people were complaining 3 times. So you kind of have to go back and look to see what you did and what you didn't do wrong.
And Your Honor, I didn't fire her. She was more than happy after the weekend. If she wanted to come back, I would have given her an ample opportunity to continue. But I just think that she was...
Well, a suspension to me is firing her. I mean, you don't have a formal agreement, a formal anything. You know,
but
you didn't have a set hours. You know, shifts can change at any moment, especially when you're a part-time, temporary, at-will employee. Shifts change all the time. So if you decided not to come back, then that means you quit. If he said, no, there's no open door, there's no open door. So the mere fact that he said you can't work on the shift is not necessarily him saying, I'm firing you. So based on the evidence, Ms. Lee, I will deny your claim and rule in favor of the defendant for the reasons I already said. Okay, good luck.
Judge Perez has ruled in favor of the defendant. The plaintiff's claim has been denied.
I really did enjoy working for the restaurant. Next time I get constructive criticism, I'll take it more seriously.
Well, you were a great worker. In the future, I'll have a more specific dress code.
Coming up on Justice for All.
Some people wouldn't even bother suing you. Some people would say, whatever, I'll take care of it. But people love to sue each other for these things. I wouldn't have sued him, but that's just me.
Closed captioning provided by... You're watching Justice for All with Judge Christina Perez. Denise Haney is suing Claude Kirkland in the amount of $450. Ms. Haney claims Mr. Kirkland's dog destroyed her shoes. Mr. Kirkland claims the plaintiff's shoes were ruined because she let his dog out, even though she was told not to.
Yeah, I understand you are a shoe lover.
I am indeed, yes, Your Honor.
That's good. So am I. Anyway, but we are here on a very serious note. Mr. Kirkland, I understand that your cute little puppy chewed her shoes. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
What happened?
So I attended a housewarming party at his new place, and when I first got there, he asked me to take off my shoes, which I wasn't happy about because they were new and I had saved up a lot, they're designer. But I took them off out of respect for him.
All right, so you decided to take your shoes off.
Yes, so I took them off because I didn't think that there would be an issue. I didn't think that the puppy was going to do anything. He actually didn't mention that to me. He claims that he made some kind of announcement, but I was at the party a little bit late. I don't know.
Okay. So you took your shoes off, and where'd you put the shoes?
I put the shoes by the front door.
Okay. Is that where everybody else had left the shoes?
Yeah, there was a big pile.
Okay. All right. So then you left the shoes there. All the shoes were left at the front door, Mr. Kirkland?
No, all the shoes were not left at the front door. Some people put their belongings on top of my bed in my room.
Okay. How many shoes were left on the front door?
Probably about half. It was 20. I invited around 20 people, so probably about half of the people.
All right. So then what happened, Ms. Haney?
So we were all in the backyard enjoying the party and just hanging out. I needed to go to the bathroom, so I went back into the house, and there was a bathroom in the hallway, which he had pointed out to us, but earlier when he was giving us the tour, but it was full. So I had noticed when he was giving us that tour that there was also a bathroom in his bedroom, and so I decided to go use that one. When I opened the door, the puppy ran out, but the puppy had been with us all day, hanging out with us in the backyard, so I didn't think anything of it. I used the bathroom, I rejoined the party. I would say about half an hour roughly had passed. I'm not exactly sure, I wasn't timing it, but I noticed
Even bother suing you. Some people would say, whatever, I'll take care of it. But people love to sue each other for these things. I wouldn't have sued him, but that's just me.
Closed captioning provided by... You're watching Justice for All with Judge Christina Perez. We're back with the case of Denise Haney, who is suing Claude Kirkland for property damage.
So then you saw your dog, Rocky, chewed her shoes. What did you offer to do?
Offered to pay for the repair. Not for the
Okay.
full price of the $450 shoe, just for the repair, which is like $25.
Okay.
Your Honor, he didn't
And
offer that.
did you take them to a repair shop to see if they could be fixed?
No, what happened was the day
Why
of...
not?
Because they're really irreparable. Like this, I mean, it would...
I mean, you never know what they could do because, you know, you can take them back. I know what kind of shoes those are. You can take them back. There's very specialized places that specifically look into repairing these kind of shoes. Did you try to do that?
We did not try to do that, Your Honor, because I asked him to pay for them and he wouldn't. And then it wasn't until like 2 or 3 weeks later, after I had been asking him to, that he finally was just like, fine, I'll take these to get them repaired. But honestly, they were very, very nice shoes and they meant a lot to me.
It is reasonable for the court to give you the fair market value of that shoe. You need to prove to me that it cannot be fixed before I replace the shoe. Does that make sense?
Yes, Your Honor.
So I don't know if it could be fixed or it could not, but he has a right to figure that out. If it's going to cost $300 to fix it, well, then I'm going to say, sorry, Mr. Kirkland, you're going to have to buy her a brand new pair of shoes because, after all, cute little Rocky is your doggy. He's your property, and he destroyed somebody else's property. I guess that was in your home. So at the end of the day, that's what it is. You're going to have to repair her shoes, right? Some people wouldn't even bother suing you. Some people would say, whatever, I'll take care of it. But people love to sue each other for these things. I wouldn't have sued him. But that's just me.
Judge Perez's verdict when Justice for All returns. Promotional consideration provided by...
If it cannot be repaired, then Mr. Kirkland will have to reimburse the full value of the shoe. Okay?
Okay.
So that's something that we're going to have to do. Sometimes you can call the company. You just never know the wonders of what can be done. Okay? So that's what we're going to do. So we will reserve judgment until you come back to me and let me know what happens. And, you know, next time don't wear expensive shoes if you know there's a dog around. Or next time don't have your guests take off their shoes. Okay?
Okay.
Or warn everybody. All
Yes, Your
right?
Honor.
Okay, good luck, guys.
Judge Perez has ruled in favor of the plaintiff, but will hold off on damages until she sees repair estimates.
Listen, Claude, I'm going to get that estimate and bring it back to the judge, and then you're going to have to pay for my shoes.
Fine, Denise, do what you gotta do. I'd rather pay to get them fixed than to buy a new pair of shoes for you.
This has been a production of Entertainment Studios.